Thank you guys for being there. I'm Alain, Helaili from GitHub, based in Paris. And this microphone is a pain in my ear. Really painful. Sorry about that. So we are a bunch of guys from GitHub today here. Most of them speak Spanish, so we decided that the one who doesn't speak Spanish will be talking. just so it makes sense, right? It gives you an idea of how we work, or not work sometimes, but hopefully my English is not too terrible and you guys can follow what I'm saying. So very glad to be here. Madrid is phenomenal, great food. I'm still raving about my lunch. And so I want to talk today. To give you an overview basically of the kind of processes and tools and practices and culture we have at GitHub. So we do a lot of things pretty cool, I think, pretty advanced, and I want to share that with you today. So maybe you can steal part of that. Maybe you're already using GitHub, so you could apply everything. Maybe you're using some other tool, and most of what I'm going to talk about today will apply anyway. So there is no obligation to use GitHub tools, and most of the things we're doing are based on open source components. So you could pick up whatever you want over there. First of all, I hope everybody knows GitHub. Yeah? Someone who doesn't know GitHub would say? No, nobody would do that. And do you guys use GitHub on a day-to-day basis, or is that just for fun at home? Or, are you using it for work? Yeah? Some of you? Okay, cool. So, obviously, we use GitHub at GitHub, and we have an organization that's called GitHub, and the product is called GitHub, so the URL is github.com/github/github. Very easy to remember. And so I'm going to show you a couple of stuff about that and how we build that and how we release that. So, but before that, just a quick history on where things started and why we're here today. It started with Git. So I guess everybody knows Git here. Probably everybody using it. But just a quick overview. And actually, in terms of overview, the first line is enough. It was written by Linus Torvalds. So it was not written for human beings. It was written for people who are coding on the Linux operating system. So it's pretty tough, right? You get massive power, but for people who are starting with it, it's quite complicated. Maybe it's better. So back in the days, these guys, those guys are our founders. They had that great startup idea. They were based in San Francisco, so obviously they had to have a startup idea, so otherwise they should move. So these startup ideas, actually we don't even remember where it was. But to build that, they decided to go with Git. Right? It was back in 2007. Git was 2 years old. Linus Torvalds had done that speech at Google. Great speech, actually, if you haven't seen it. Google on YouTube, you go Linus Torvalds, Git, Google, and you will find that video speech. It's pretty nice. So they were like, okay, we're going to create our great startup. We're going to use Git. That would be super cool, super awesome. But the guys actually, they had a day job, so they were all working in different companies during the day. And as much as Git is powerful, they find it hard to collaborate around the code, right? You share the code, you share the commits, you share all that stuff, but you don't share ideas, you don't share feedback, you don't share all this communication around your code is not shareable for Git. So they were like, okay, so we're going to build a little tool around that, a GUI, so we can better share ideas and information about our code. And so they created that little website based on Ruby on Rails, because that's what they were, that's all they know, basically. So that was a no-brainer. So they started that, and very soon some of the guys around them say, okay, can we use your stuff as well, because it's very useful, and we have open source code that we would like to put over there. Well, okay, thumbs up, you can do that, no problem. And up to the day where some guys come and say, hey, we would like to store our code up there, but it needs to be private. So we're willing to pay for that, but it needs to be private. So can you do that? And they were like, okay, sure, no problem. But how much do we charge? They had no idea. They had no idea that it was a product, right? It was just a tool. So they went to Dropbox, Dropbox.com, and looked at the price over there, $7. All right, pay us $7. You can host your repositories, and that's what started GitHub, basically. So at that time, they were still in the mood of doing a lot of different things. So that was the original name of the company, and we were, very modest. My code perfect. So that's when they started, and very soon, like GitHub became so much bigger than all the other projects they were busy with, that they basically ditched out everything, and GitHub became the company and the product. So it's really started not as a product, not as a company, and over the course of things, it became a product and a company. But that's how the whole thing started. So that's where you found the roots for the open source collaboration platform. And that's where you find the source also for the private organization and how companies can now share the code. So just a quick story of things. Just keep that. So it became GitHub social coding. So that's that's the social part on top of GitHub. So that's where people start putting the code and adding a page on the website where you can see the profile, you can see the contribution graph, you can see what they've been doing. And a developer is no longer just a name in a comment or the header of a file, but it becomes actually somebody who is doing some work and can show his work to the rest of the world. It's moving away from LinkedIn, where you tell people what you want to tell, but that's the place where you show them what you've been doing and you show exactly the kind of work you've been doing. So it's a very different perspective of things. So we started in 2008, 486 employees now. And I was just updating my slide earlier today. And the original version of that slide is probably 6 months old. And that was 350 employees at that time. So that gives you an idea of the growth that we're going through. Yeah, it's quite amazing. So that was the history. And fast forwarding, actually, yeah, that's 6 months ago, there was 380 people. That's a picture of an internal website, which is called Team, and where we can see actually where people are. Like, it's a live website where you actually see where people are at that time in the day, which is pretty cool. And you see that, we're not that many people, but we are all over the world. And that's very important in the GitHub culture. It's a remote-friendly company, almost remote first sometimes, almost. But people are all over the world. You see, like some people are in Hawaii. Can you imagine working, coding in GitHub from Hawaii? Some people are in Spain. Some people are in New Zealand, or there was no New Zealander at that time, or she was moving. She was traveling sometimes. But we got people all over the planet, and it's really defining the way we're working and collaborating together. So it means that with people distributing all around the world, you cannot have a meeting. You cannot put people in a room and discuss about a topic. You can't even do a WebEx or any other video conference like Google Hangout or something like this, because the guy who is in Hawaii is going to sleep when the guy in Australia is waking up, and the guy in London is going to be having dinner or breakfast, or I don't know. I'm confused at that time. I can't compute that. But so if you got 3 people, it becomes hard for them to talk to each other. So you cannot do that. Plus, when people are talking to each other, I mean, it's a blessing actually that we cannot do that. Because when people are talking to each other, the content of the discussion is lost for the rest of the company. Right? The employee who's coming the day after has no idea what has been told. The people who are on vacation that one day or were busy somewhere else have no idea what the details of what has been said. So in order for people to really share information in GitHub, everything needs to be written down. Everything needs to have a link, basically. If you can't forward a link to somebody about the conversation, then the conversation doesn't exist. And it started actually very early. When our founders were coding together, I don't know if you guys do that, but they were in the same room sometimes, but they were still talking with chat. They were like next to each other, but they were chatting to each other. Because it's a different way of communication. It's asynchronous communication. You're not interrupting the guy in front of you when you're doing that. You can read it like 30 seconds later or 2 minutes later, but he can do that at his pace and when he's available for that conversation. conversation. So it's changing a lot of things, and it's really changing the way people are collaborating together. So everything needs to be captured. And when you're using issues and pull requests, well, I guess you have the sense of that, because it's about capturing the conversation around the code, or capturing our ideas and capturing everything in the same place so it can be found later. You could say, yes, but why don't you use emails or stuff like this? But email is still a conversation between a given set of people that you cannot search. I mean, you can search your own mailbox, but you cannot search a conversation that happened between other people. So it's still lost. I mean, I love to say that the best way to lose an information is to put it in the mail. Then you're sure that in 6 months from now, it's gone. Nobody knows about it anymore. So issues and pull requests, that's how it started for the world communication, and that became a big principle of our culture, basically. You guys interrupt me if I'm saying something wrong, okay? But don't, please. So we worked distributively, and we cracked that amazing software together distributively. So what's the secret? So what is the recipe for us to deliver that kind of software? So we got a lot of different recipes, actually. Some are funny, some are more, operational. The first thing we have is Zen of GitHub. So that's our, our stones with our commandments in there. The great principle that guide us when we're thinking, when we're collaborating, when we're talking to each other, when we are crafting some codes. And if you want to know all the details, well, as everything within GitHub, there is a link for that. There is an address for that. There is an API to get that. So you guys can go ahead and use the API, and as every time you're calling it, you will have a different answer, and that's the whole list of answers. So it's principle that you guys could adapt, like keep it logically awesome, design for failure. All this stuff are really good principle for everyday coders. Approachable is better than simple, but practically beats purity. So don't overcomplexify things. Keep them simple, but they need to be smart as well. It's all kind of stuff that, if you think about them, makes total sense and could be adopted by everybody. So that's the first thing. And then we have more like classical technical principle or technology that we're using. Of course, we're using DevOps. And I told you about asynchronous communication already. But the two things that are really cool is the continuous delivery and the channels. When we're talking about continuous delivery at GitHub, and I'll show you a graph later, we're pretty serious about that. When we're talking about continuous delivery, it's about shipping, in average, 40 different changes in the production environment per day. What's the background noise? There's somebody else in the room, right? So yeah, 40 different changes a day on the production environment, right? Who does 40 different changes in production per month? Per month? Nobody. You do? Cool. Come on. 40
changes per month.
Yeah. Yeah, you do that?
Per month?
Yeah.
Oh, way more.
Oh, good. So we're not the only one. I'm glad. But per day?
Per day,
Per day, not that much.
Oh,
Probably 10, something like that.
Yeah.
cool. That's pretty nice. So you want to chip in and...
No, please go ahead.
All right. So yeah, 40 different changes. Okay, you probably won't see all of them. Some are just, seen only by GitHubers, so people who are within the organization. But you might learn, you might execute some code that you're not aware of. But in the background, we capture information and feedback. So there is a lot of knowledge gathered that way, and we go deeper into that. But before going into that, I want to first tell you how we use GitHub. Before telling you about the other tools and everything. Because Git and GitHub, there is a lot of creativity over there. There is a lot of different ways of using it. Everybody has his own workflow. Some are going to want to rebase everything and have one single history, very pure thing. Some have like multiple branches and merges, and it's more like chaotic, but more closer to what happened exactly. So let's rewrite the history. So I want to show you how we do it, and if you remember, our GitHub then is going to be slightly pretty simple actually, but it's what we call the GitHub flow. So if you go online, you will find the Git flow, the GitHub flow, Wires flow, whatever flow. The Git flow, for those who have seen it, it's pretty popular. I think it's super complex, but some people might like that. The GitHub flow is pretty simple. It all comes from a feature branch. Am I creating my own echo or something? So we just create a feature branch based on master, basically. And on that feature branch, we're going to start writing some codes. And very quickly, maybe before even the first commit, most of the time it's actually before the first commit, we're going to open a pull request. So for those who are not that familiar with GitHub and the pull request, the whole idea of the pull request is to, I mean there are many ideas, but the first one, it's really to have a conversation with the rest of the team about the code you're going to create. So some people are creating pull requests at the end, say, I've been writing all that code, and guys, can you review it? And maybe the guys are going to say, hey, this is crap, you have to redo everything. And when such thing happens, you're like, geez, why didn't I ask them before? Maybe I would have said sometimes. So that's why we're doing that. We want to make sure that our ideas and our designs and the direction we want to take is going to be approved by the rest of the team, or actually they are on the same boat than we are. So it's more about like creating that conversation about what we're going to achieve, and then writing the code. And then we have achieved the first thing, the collaboration, discussion about the feature we're going to create, and then comes the review about the code. So I've implemented that. We agreed on the the blueprints of the feature. And now let's discuss about what the code I've written actually. Is it going to work? Is it going to be, is it going to pass continuous integration? Or maybe continuous integration has been triggered already, but all the tests and all the quality requirement that we have. So that discussion is here and it's very important. Code review, some guys said once, and I thought that was a great way of putting that. He said that 1 hour spent doing some code review is going to save 4 hours of debug later down the road. And for two reasons. Because once you get another pair of eyes who is going to spot some problem in your code, at least one of the pair, it could be several of them. I got customers who are using like the whole team. Each pull request should be approved by the whole team being 5 or 6 people. The second benefit of that is that the other people are going to know your code, right? They are going to follow the construction of your code. So tomorrow, when you're going to be run over by a bus, for instance, you can do that happily because your colleagues will be able to fix your bugs, right? There's no fear of anything over there. They will have known everything you've been writing on, and if there is a bug in your code, they don't have to wait for you to come back to fix something. Sometimes it's too complex. You say, okay, the guy is going to come back in 3 days from now. It's going to take me 3 days to read his code and to understand how it works. So let's wait. No, it doesn't happen that way anymore. Everybody knows it. Everybody can go in there and start fixing. So the review about the code, and then well, that's a pull request for the ones who don't know how it works. The code review. That's what it looks like. I forgot that I had a slide about that. So you can do things over there. You can really do that comments and that discussion. Some people have likewise they have some creativity about how to approve a pull request. So I said that sometimes the whole team is going to review the code. Sometimes only a couple members of the team. So I know some of the teams where only 2 or 3 senior developers are going to have a look at it and review it and give their approval. So it depends. And then whole emoji vocabulary that is used by people can change as well. So we got thumb up, the sheep, the animal, and that little animal with the hat.
Squirrel.
The squirrel. Where is the squirrel coming from? I never know that.
Shipping.
Yeah, but what? Because the squirrel is shipping things? Because we use the squirrel quite a lot, right? But I've never been like, I always guess what it was for. I guess it's this story. So, lots of creativity out there too. And some people actually want to go beyond that, because it's still quite an easy system. I mean, it's still relying on people to make decisions, right? If we decide that everybody in the team should approve, then the guy who is doing the merge at the end of the day needs to be on board with that and wait for everybody to approve. And we don't have any feature in GitHub to control that, because and actually it's a Spanish customer, somebody from Telefonica who told me that. He said, we believe on culture rather than on tools. So it's the culture of the team to follow the principles and not the tool who should constrain that. Actually, Telefonica is interesting because what they do also is, in order to make sure that people are reviewing fastly and providing feedback quick enough. When you open a pull request, you don't want to wait another week to merge it, right? You have written some code, you would like to push it to the production environment, and you're waiting for your colleagues and your peers to review the code. So in order to make sure that all the team members are going to review it quickly, they decided that the guy who is the last one to review is going to have to do the merge and resolve all the conflicts and do all the heavy lifting. So you don't want to be the last one. I thought that was really cool. So lots of creativity, and some people decided that they wanted something more structured. Some people are believing less in culture and more in tools, but that's cool. They do whatever they want. So I just wanted to tell you about a couple of tools that we don't use, but that you might find useful. The first one is Review Ninja. It's an open source tool that you can deploy it, but there's also a SaaS service for free. It was actually built by SAP. SAP is using GitHub internally. They have their own instance of GitHub Enterprise in their environment, and they created that on top of it, so they can control, for instance, how many thumbs ups you have before you can merge, and the tool's controlling that. It's actually not thumb ups; it's ninja stars. So your colleagues need to give you ninja stars, and if you have so many ninja stars, then you're allowed to merge a pull request. So it's another way of, your data is still in GitHub, so you're still using GitHub, but it's another front end for that part. So feel free to use that. There's another one, but I think this one you have to pay for it. It's called Git Colony. It's another way of looking at your pull requests as well. Feel free to experiment with that and have fun if you like it better. There are tons of other integrations that are existing, so if you want to customize your GitHub, if you want to add features to that, if you go to the integration pages, so github.com/integrations, you get tons of products that are here. I don't know if you have a screenshot. No, I don't. I wanted to show you a screenshot of Zena, but I don't have that. If you want to have your issues in a Kanban board, you can do that with that too. So still, everything is in GitHub, but the way you're showing it, the way you're displaying it is different, and you can fill up some needs if you have that. So go ahead. All right. So we had that, so we saw the collaboration between people, very important, obviously. But we got a bunch of systems also that are here to help us. We got our own flavor of Jenkins. It's called Jenki internally. But we have also some other systems, and the idea is that these systems are going to collaborate with us in the pull request as well. They're going to send us back some information, right? Let me show you, actually. Let me show you a pull request on GitHub. Where is it? Yeah. No, this one is closed. This one, for instance. Yeah, there you go. So you see it's github.com/github/github. So GitHub organization and the GitHub product. And at the end, you see the checks that we have on our system. So we have 13 different checks that are executed every time somebody is pushing some code, right? So there are 13 different feedback that are feeding the pull request. And the idea behind that is you want the developer to have as much information about the code he's been working with, right? We don't want him to go to Jenkins to look at what happened. We don't want him to go to Sonar to look at what happened. And all these other systems that you might leverage in your development process. We want that information to come back where the developer is. And the developer is in his development tool and is in GitHub. And there's no need for an extra window open, maybe Slack too. Yeah. But there are no need for other systems that he needs to navigate to in order to find some information. So everything is right here. And if there is like a red check over there, he can just click on the detail page and is writing to his build, his build, that one, for that feature, for that set of commits. So he doesn't need to look for that. It's right there. One click away from the information defense, basically. Which is really simplifying the day-to-day life of people. So we get all these checks, and actually, so creating these checks is very easy, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You can create your own checks for any kind of things, like, you know, is there still enough coffee? Is there beers in the fridge? I mean, you can think about all the checks that a developer needs on a day-to-day basis, right? These are pretty vital. Okay, so first thing, let's create a status. So let me create a pull request somewhere. I'm just going to go there. I got my GitHub Enterprise instance, so my own GitHub, and obviously I should have. This one is not going to be interesting. Like, this one should be fine. So there's been some commits over there. We've got some feedback over there, so we're good with that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I need to steal my SHA1. So that's the reference of my commit, okay? And I got a cheat sheet, obviously, because I don't want to make too many typos and everything. And I just need to replace that. So let me show you what we have here. So I'm going to call, maybe I'm going to zoom a little bit, it'll be better. Can you guys see it? Yeah?
Not from here.
Not from here?
Here.
But you got a screen right before.
Okay.
That's okay, that's okay, that's not bad. So I'm just going to do some curl so it's easier, right? But you could, you know how to call some APIs. So I'm just going to give my token over there. That's my endpoint, so that's my GitHub API URL, and then my organization, and then my repo, and then I'm going to use the status API. Well, the color is not that great. How do I change the color over there? Let me grab that here. How could I change that? Well, let's put it that. New window here. Make it really big. There you go. Alright, that would be nicer. It executed. So here we are. So authorization token, my endpoints, and what I'm saying here, like this is my payload basically. So I'm going to say this is my check. So the name of my check is the context. It's DevOps Madrid /check. Okay? And there's a little bit of description to give more information and a status. So if we're going back there, ta-da, it's pending. So I've sent my first status, right? So basically, what happened in a real life project is that you're going to go ahead and change your repository settings. They're here. They used to be on the side. And you're going to create a webhook. So a webhook is just some password over there. Alright, again, a webhook is just one service that you are hosting, and which is going to receive a certain payload on certain events. So you can imagine that whenever I'm doing a push will be here, I want to be notified, and my service is going to send back a status. You know, I've pushed some code. Is there more coffee? Right? And then it's going to reply to that and send me back information here, right over there. And so the first thing, if it's, you know, it takes time to check if there is still coffee at the cafeteria. So the first thing I want to say is, okay, I'm working on it, so pending. That's the first thing I'm going to send back right away while I'm doing the job. And at the end of my check, I'll be able to say, actually, to make it easier, I'm going to check that here. I'm going to say, it's not state here, say it's success now. Okay, and I can send that back here. Success, and if I'm going back here, yeah, success is 0. It's not great. So you see, it's very easy. I mean, it's just 2 calls, one for saying I'm pending, so I'm doing some work, and the second one to send feedback information. I missed, the only thing that I didn't put in that is the details, so you could provide a link to the detail page of, you know, how much coffee is there at the cafeteria, for instance. So that's a great thing. While we're here, you might notice this as well. I don't know if you've been using that, because that's something we released, I believe, 3 to 4 months ago, you know this, in the ballpark. That's called the required status. So it means that if my check was required, and actually let's do that. I'm going to go back there, go back to my branches, and I've predicted already master. So predicting masters will prevent people from doing a forced push, for instance. They won't be able to do that. And what I can do also is require that my DevOps Madrid check is required in order to merge my branch. So I won't be able to merge my branch if my status is not green. So it's a good prediction that you could create. Some people have been using that to count the number of thumbs up on the pull request and say, okay, if you have at least 3, then you can merge. You can customize your things like this. Did I say that? I don't think I did. Jeez, I did. Some changes. That would be better. Okay, going back to the pull request, login fix. So here, everything is successful. I can merge, but I don't want that. I want to fail. So let's say failure. I think that's the word. Alright, now it's failure, and my merge pull request is not green anymore, it's gray. So I've been predicting my branch. I cannot go forward, I cannot go to the next step because that's not been approved. Alright, let's put that back to green for the next thing. So, okay, if you have any question at any time, just interrupt me, there's no problem. Alright. Question? Good. Let's move on. Alright, so that I show you the statuses. Okay. We ship. And shipping. So this is the deployments, the number of deployments that we're doing on GitHub. So it's a graph that shows you over 5 days from the that's May 17th to May 22nd to, well, no, not 200, 198 deployments maybe, over 5 days. So all of these deployments have been pushed to the production environment. So how do we do that? We do that thanks to one guy called Ubot. There was an article on Wired saying that this guy is the guy who's working the most at GitHub, so that our most productive employee, and that's close to be true. That's actually true, because Ubot does everything for us. So in order to do continuous delivery, you have to make sure that it's fully automated, right? You cannot rely on human to do something in your production environment 40 times a day without any problem. It has to be automated, otherwise that's wrong. And it has to be automated also so people don't need to know anything about the production environment, right? If the developers has to understand where are all the servers, where is the password to all the servers and whatnot, then it's not going to work. So UBot does all that crap for us. It's much smarter than we are. But we use it for a lot of different things. So if you, what do I have here? If you go, so UBot is connected to Slack. You can connect UBot to basically whatever you want. I mean, it doesn't matter which email client you have, not email, but chat client. And you can send comments. So everything that starts with a dot is basically a comment to UBot. And I can say, like, image me Madrid, for instance. And I never know what I get over there. Yeah. So it goes online, find me an image about Madrid. Is that Madrid? Yeah. Good. I don't know, you could have been Barcelona or something. No one do that. You can say, okay, I want a map of me 20. And that's where 20 is, right? That's pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
It's somewhere here. Alright, let's try again with me Madrid. Obviously, there is more knowledge on the internet about Madrid. Yes, cool. So there's, we can do a lot of cool things with that. You can do animate, so you can find some crazy crap.
Probably not gonna work. Okay.
Come on, work. Come on.
I think Google broke the API.
Yeah, Google broke the API.
No, it's been fixed.
Really?
Yeah, somebody fixed it.
Cool.
See? Somebody totally wrote an hack to fix it actually. So the API is really broken. We got it back. Alright, so you can do a ton of useless things. That's for sure. I mean, useless. It's fun. So let's see. But you can do some more interesting things. So like, yeah, let's do that. I don't remember all these comments. So one cool thing is, I want to see the stats about the website. I want to see what we're doing. Whatever performance counter we have. And so I just asked, in the chat, give me the stats about the website, and UBot goes and get them for me. I can just click on them now and see our stats. So I don't need to log into Nagios or whatever system we can have. I don't even know actually what we're running. It's there. I don't care, right? I just want to see the graph. So we got all these kind of measurements and graphs and counters that we can display right out there. So it's easy for me, so I can access all that information without having any login or special privilege or whatnot. But also, when I'm looking at them, my partners, my teammates could see what I'm doing and say, hey, why are you looking at that? Is there a problem? Or, oh yeah, but I know why you're looking at that because I broke that stuff, I forgot to tell you. I'm not doing that on an SSH command line somewhere or like on my private browser. I'm doing that in the chat room where everybody else can see it and can collaborate with me over there. So it's again collaboration between people, and it's in the history of the chat, so people can see what people are doing actually in the morning, because in the morning for them is the end of the day for somebody else in the company. So the chat room has some stuff in it. It's not like when everybody's working on the same shift, you arrive in the morning, there's nothing. There is some stuff. So people are going all the way back and see, okay, what has been the day of other people? What have they been busy with? And you catch up with them, and you understand what they've been working on, what they've looked at. There's a problem. Have you been looking at that graph? Oh yeah, I know. I've seen it. I saw that you looked at it, so I don't need to ask you that question. And we save a lot of time that way. So where did I have So you can customize that, you can put some tiles, you can do a lot of different things. But we can do some other stuff. So let me go back to slides. There you go. So, skip that. These slides are valuable, so that sometimes I put some more extra screenshots that I showed you so you can later see that. A great thing also that we have is there's a connection between my chat rooms and the repositories I'm working on, and my team is working on. So whenever somebody is closing a pull request, I will see that in the chat. Whenever somebody is opening a pull request, I will see that in the chat as well. So I don't need to look at my notifications or whatnot. If I'm following my chat, I know what my people and my teammates are working on. It's a great way also to understand what's going on. And then we can go a little bit further. So I told you we were deploying 40 times a day, and Ubot was doing that, and Ubot is doing that through the chat again. So whenever somebody wants to deploy a feature to like a test machine, we just ask Ubot to do that. So the command is, so it used to be the old command because we were in a previous life on something else at Slack, so we could do slash something, but Slack stole two things from us, the idea of a bot and the slash. So we needed to find something else, so we replaced the slash by a dot. So we do now .deploy GitHub / my features, for instance. So that's the my feature branch of the GitHub repo, and push that to the branch line. And Ubot is going to do that for me, right? It's going to push that, and it's going to give me also some information, such as where to find that machine where it's been deployed my code, because you probably guys now have like a virtualized environment or some Docker containers that you are starting on the fly to deploy some codes and to test some things. But if it's totally automated, you need to know where it is, right? And Ubot is doing that for us. He's telling us, I've done the job for you, and here's where you can test your environment, and just click on there, just click over there, and you see it. And you can send that to other people as well, so they can also test what you've been working on. So it's pretty convenient. What else can we do? Yeah. So remember, in the pull request, we collaborate between people. We collaborate with systems. So systems are sending us some information. But we also might want to know what's going on from a shipping point. So that branch, that feature branch, maybe is available somewhere. And if I'm just looking at the pull request, I'd like to know where it is. So we get an API for that as well. And it's pretty easy, same thing to use. So we're going to deploy our branch. So let me cheat again. So what's the name of my branch? Oh, sorry. My branch is called logging. That's easy. Let's create a deployment in there you go. That should be that one. So that's here. So let's create a deployment. Alright, let's see what's going on here. I'm going to trigger deployment. I guess I'm behind. Oh, okay. So a great feature actually is that it's checking that my my branch is up to date, and that one is not up to date. Is that correct? So I cannot deploy that one. The system makes a check for me that my branch can be merged with master before actually pushing it. And as it cannot be merged with master, get a warning saying, nope, you can't. And I have no idea when I've done that merge and another branch and how much time it's going to take me to merge it or to make it better. So let's create a new dummy branch. So I'm going to make a big change in my code. Let's do it that way. comment over there. Big change. Create a new branch. Let's call it DevOps. And let's create a pull request. That's called DevOps. And we should be good to go. All right. Okay, we can care about that. And now if I'm running the same one, let's see. All right. DevOps. We're good, yeah. Refresh that. Alright, no, I've requested a deployment. That doesn't mean something has happened, sorry. I've sent a message saying, GitHub, I want you to tell everybody that I want to do that deployment. That's actually the first step. So it means that other systems that have registered webhooks to be notified about deployment requests are going to be notified by GitHub. So in order to make things easier and avoid you to call all the different systems, we made an interface so you call GitHub saying, I want to do a deployment. And GitHub is going to call all the people or all the systems that are registered up there. And these systems are going to send back some information, such as this one, for instance. No, not this one. This one. State pending. What's the number of my deployment? So my deployment's number is what? Oh, I have some status that I'm not going through. Alright, so as I've got some required status, so it's live stuff, and live stuff should be avoided in time in demonstration. I got a couple systems that needs to be validated before I can just do a deployment. So that's what we're seeing here. This one, for some reason, didn't work, and it's required. And so as long as it's not clear, that's not going to work. So I'm just going to turn that optional. No, not this one. This one. Let's make that optional. Let's make everything optional. There you go. Let's make my life easier. Alright. My pull request is here. And now I can ask the guy to do deployments, and it's still not happy with that. Come on. Why is he preventing me from doing that if everything is optional? That's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to make my life even easier, because obviously that check is buggy. So I'm going to disable that guy. And I'm going to disable another guy too. That should be that one. Yep. Alright, these two guys are now disabled. And hopefully I'm just now going to change another file and make sure on the DevOps one, and that's going to create a new push. Alright, and everything should be good. Alright, I just need CI to work. Come on, CI. CLI slow. One green. One, two greens, two greens, two greens. Yes. All right. Cool. There we go then. Yeah, it worked. Then, so I've created a deployment request. And that deployment request ID is 565. That I need to remember. Because now I can say deployment 565 is pending and say to the Madrid Tesla. There you go. All right. That's perfect. So we send that, go back to our page, and here you go. I have requested a deployment to Tesla 35 seconds ago. If I click there, it will go nowhere because I didn't provide it anything, but you can imagine whatever tools you've created could have a status page information about what's going on, where are we working on, and whenever you're happy with that, you can send a success page. So, all right. So you're going to update the deployment. So here it's requested deployment, and now I can say that this deployment succeeded. So it's been deployed, and here you can provide whatever information. Right? So again, I'm reading my pull request. That pull request that works, not the other one. And I could see collaboration with people, systems, the deployment request. So everything is it's a story that I'm creating basically about my feature deployment. Everything is showing there. Right, so let's move on. So we saw what happened on the Tesla. Again. But we do the same thing for the production environment. Again, from the chat window, I'll be able to directly request a deployment. So actually, we just released recently a system to make sure that it's more like rock solid, because it used to be that if you have access to the one specific room or set of specific room, then you are allowed to do the deployment. Okay, meaning that potentially a man in the middle could have done something, or somebody is hacking your, you forget to lock your computer, somebody's using your chat, could do whatever they want. So we built in that two-factor authentication. So for some commands that are very sensitive, you will receive an SMS, so you have to confirm that you are the one who is actually typing in the command. So it's more like rock solid. So you want to deploy to the production environment, and so you go ahead, you send that, and you do the job, but it's not going to send you back the link to github.com, because obviously you probably know that you're working for github.com. You probably know the address of the website. So instead of doing that, it's giving you the link to the graphs. I showed you one graph, but we have a page where you see all the graphs, so you can see what's going on. But the better thing, for that, it's amazing, is it's sending you a link to Haystack. So Haystack, it's where you look for needles, basically. And errors on the website are needles. And let me show you what it looks like. Yeah, that's our Haystack. So that's our own system, where actually you will see where you stand in the queue of things. So we protect our system. We don't allow people, we don't allow two persons to deploy their feature at the same time on the website. So there is the management of a queue, basically. When you want to deploy your code, you are queued in the deployment queue, and everybody has his turn. So you deploy your branch, test it, you look at Haystack, you look at the graphs, everything is fine, and then somebody else's turn is coming. So your code is eventually merged to master, but then it's your turn, and Haystack, the link basically that you receive, is a tailored link, so you could look at the history of your feature, you look at the history of the production environment when your feature started to be deployed up to the end of your feature being deployed. So you're looking at your time frame, your window, your slides. So you look at your problems, basically. Well, difficulty is there's always problems. Most of them are not related to your code. So it could be user errors, or all kind of crazy things can happen. But at least you have a view of your code and you can observe it in the production environment, and you can see if there's a deviation between what you've been, the normal error rates on GitHub.com and what's happening since you deployed your code. So you get a feedback on that. And that's very important for us, because we can reproduce the activity of GitHub.com in the test lab, right? I think we just broke the rank 80. I think we're now like 79th website of the planet, right? That's about 32, 35 million users per month coming to our website. So it's impossible to reproduce that in the test lab. So the only truth for us is the production environment, because there's so many systems, so many variations, so many combination of browsers and whatnot that it's impossible to reproduce. And it goes that, it's so true that a feature doesn't make it to master, to the master branch, before actually being to the production environment. So it goes to the production environment first, and then if it's okay, it goes to master, right? Usually people are doing the other way around. But with us, the last check is really the production environment, where you can decide if your feature is actually not breaking anything. So we take that chance of breaking maybe something, but usually quality is pretty good. But we know that we can roll back pretty quickly too, right? And it's been working pretty well. So we deploy and push.
Has it ever not worked? Like, have we broken something that way?
Unicorns.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right. How many times did you work with the website?
Happens every week.
Yeah.
We solved the unicorns, so.
But sometimes it's not our fault.
I mean, no. The difficult thing is not to break it, it's to be able to roll it back quickly,
Yeah.
so nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have like different environments for deploying, so, I didn't, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So the thing is
stand
that
up,
we've
stand up.
got multiple layers of deployment. So we have environments that simulate production. We have something we call Canary, which is basically a subset of production where we deploy things, and they are actually live tested by customers. And then you usually have deployment, the deployment to production, where actually your code ends up in production before merging. So and then what you do is usually you monitor Haystack for exceptions. You monitor graphs, to make sure that everything's working smoothly and all that stuff, and then you merge.
All right. And yeah, I mean, problems can happen. That's for sure. But in this case, U-Bot is there also to cover your back and to help you. So whenever the rate of exception is raising, well, U-Bot can create an issue for you. So when U-Bot is detecting that something is going west, it will be proactive and create an issue right away, telling you about what kind of counter have been diverging or raising or whatever. Will create an issue with the minimum information you need, but it's smart enough to collect a couple of graphs or so for you. So it's not just sending in a message saying something is wrong. It's gathering information for you, like the minimum set of information that you might want to look at in order to start diagnosing the problem. So it's creating the issue with all this extra information, that graph, these logs and trees, all kind of stuff that is going to speed up your resolution process, obviously. And that's amazing. And then again, if your feature has been production approved, then you can merge it with masters, and then you can say, okay, let's ship it, right? One thing we're pretty proud of is recently, I don't know if you followed, we launched a feature recently where you can have issue templates, so you can create a template, and whenever somebody is opening a new issue, the markdown of the template will show up immediately. And actually the cool thing is that this stuff has actually been implemented by our CEO. And I love that, right? How many CEOs are coding here? Not many? So the guy actually brought this thing. I mean, we probably had to, but he went ahead and created that one. So it's pretty amazing. And that's it for me today. Guys have any questions? Right. So
being the host that they please asked before.
They will answer the question.
Just once more. How do you treat configuration?
I do.
How do you treat configuration? Because you deploy code, but how do you manage your configuration? Do you have some kind of automated way of deploying configuration or changing it, going back and forward with it?
You can speak in Spanish if you want.
Oh, it's fine if I speak Spanish or English.
For me?
Are there non-Spanish
Are there
speakers?
non-Spanish speakers here?
Oh, we got one.
Okay.
Oh, we got a bunch, so English.
Are there non-English speakers here? Okay, that's fine. So we actually have a Puppet repo and a lot of chatbots doing around Puppet. We deploy configuration the same way we treat code. We have worked with the same changes. We open the pull request, we test in environments, staging environments and production environments, a subset of the different servers that we have. And if everything is fine, the graphs are looking fine, the dashboards are looking fine, and we merge. So it's basically the same approach.
Okay, great. Preguntas?
Do you plan to do something like GitLab runners? Do you know runners from GitLab?
The CI stuff?
Yes.
Do we have plans for CI?
I have no idea.
We have no immediate plans and no midterm plans either. But that's only my level of knowledge, and maybe somebody tomorrow is going to say, hey, we have that stuff, and I'm not aware of. But yeah, to my best knowledge today, no.
It's also the idea behind GitHub. We're not asking people who are using GitHub to use this and that tool on top of GitHub. If you have something that you are already using, just keep on using it if it works for you. Anyway, most of tools, if not all of those tools, are already integrated into GitHub. So I don't think even if we create some feature that looks like what you just described, I don't think it will be like mandatory to be used with GitHub, because the idea is openness, so people choose whatever they consider as being best.
Questions?
¿Preguntas?
Have you thought about GPG keys and integration with GitHub?
The UB keys and stuff like that?
GPG or PGP.
Oh.
So is that for singing the
Yeah, singing and certification.
Oh.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, from general perspective, we tend to not speak about roadmap, right? For many reasons. But the most important one is that we want to talk about what we're doing now, and we don't want to promise you things that might or might not happen. So, yeah, generally we like to surprise you when things are ready, and we don't want to tell you things that are coming and might not come, because we might find out that it's too complicated or nobody wants it or whatever. So you will,
So it's
but never.
It's also possible that it may be happening or even being implemented and we don't know about it, because we are almost 500 now, so it's hard to know about the being worked on by different teams. So it could be happening maybe.
I mean, to complement that, it's not that it's hidden somewhere and that we don't have access to it, but there are so many going on that we're not aware of everything. But if I was looking for that, I would find it and I would get all the information. Because that's, going back to the cultural thing, everything's open at GitHub. But there are so many information that you don't see everything. Yeah.
And how do you coordinate to avoid duplicate work? If you don't know what other people is doing?
Well, I don't know what everybody is doing in the company, but if I was in a given team, I guess I would be aware of that. You can comment on that.
We actually have teams of responsibility. So if you're going to implement a function, a feature, you're probably going to look at one team, and they already know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like we don't track the different programs of the different teams.
So there are different areas of responsibility?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are also some project managers. We call project managers coordinating all that stuff. So we don't know everything going on. Driving us crazy. Makes sense.
More questions?
How do you deal in production? Like, how long are the windows for people to deploy to production? If there you have like 40 deploys a day, like it's a very short window. Maybe there are conflicts within one and the next, or a previous one. How do you manage that? Like, how manages that?
So, no funciona este micro.
Hola. ¿Sí?
Yeah, it works.
Sí, pero muy bajito. Lo que os contaba antes Alain es que los sistemas... Oh, English, sorry. So Alain was talking about the queue system we have. So basically, you use a command chat that you tell people, queue me for GitHub, and that means you're going to be in a queue system. Is that the question, by the way?
Kind of, yeah. Like, but
so you
get
there's not a limit. Basically, you deploy, and then the environment is locked for you. So if somebody else tries to deploy during that time, it's going to be warned by Hubot, hey, sorry, but the environment is blocked by this person. Would you mind asking him or just unlocking the environment if you think it's safe? So there's a locking system per environment, and then we have this branch lab environment we have. They are there so people can deploy without locking others. So it's an environment built for you, right? And then you have production, which is obviously global. And then we have logs for that. Make sense?
To add to that, I don't think there's there are some rules for GitHub the web app, so that I believe it's like you have to test it 30 minutes maybe, but then again you have to basically use your judgment. I work in the infrastructure side of things. We deploy, we test, and we look at the graphs, and if we get what we want in 10 minutes, fine, then we just deploy. Roll back if there's something.
You go with it, like.
Yes.
Sorry about the radio. More questions? Yeah. I was expecting you, Alejandro.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Multiple questions. One is haystack and the Hubot alerts. The thresholds are dynamic or are fixed? Are you using some kind of fancy math to detect that kind of abnormal behavior? Also, what's the size of your responsibility teams and headcount? For example, like 2 pizza teams, bigger, shorter, and also about.
Well, let's go one by
one.
Can do one.
Yeah. So regarding the later question, the responsibility teams, I don't know because there are many of them. So I can speak for my team. I work in core infrastructure. We are 8 people. So everything related to graphs, alerts, that's us, and Puppet configuration. We use Puppet. What was your first question again?
How
The threshold.
Your threshold. Your
Okay. It's if we have dynamic alerts. I don't know either because we have thousands of them. So we have so many graphs, so many things that can go wrong, actually, which is bad for people on call. But I'd say most of them are fixed.
You were asking about Haystack, right?
yes, for example, or who when it says your threshold about the number of
the warning
800.
I think that one is fixed. I don't know about all of them.
Let's see, what was the other one besides the trolley? How are you? The radio conversation is interesting. How do you coordinate, for example, when you're on call and you have something like, it seems like you are so popular, you receive a lot of denial of service and stuff like that. How do you handle that?
Okay, that's one for me again. Yeah. So I'm part of a team that is responsible for denial of service attacks. We have defending, yeah. So we have one. We have one engineer on call every day with a very short SLA. If we get alerted by details, we have so many graphs that look at that, monitor the network, inbound traffic, packets per second, all of that. And if Hubot detects that something is going wrong, it will create a warning alert so that people that are in chat can see it and act on that. If things go worse than that, the engineer on call will be a page actually to his phone, and we basically resolve that. We have some chat-ups regarding that as well. I don't know if that answers your question.
Hi, could you give us some like advices to people who would like to start like working on open source projects to collaborate with other people and so on?
That's a huge topic.
That's a whole new topic.
Yeah,
that's tough. I mean,
I think you're doing well right now being here because that's probably the first step.
Started a project you're interested in.
yeah. Well, I mean, you mean getting contributors or just being famous and popular, or
be a rock star.
because they're being a rock star?
In my case, I started to working with Git like 2 years ago or something, and I'm trying to implement this in my university when I'm working with other people. So my point is that nowadays I only work like on my own projects. I'm trying to build my skills and so on, but also I would like contribute to some open source initiatives and so on. But I don't know which initiatives and how to search them.
So I'd say in my experience, local groups are a great thing, meetups. If your project has code, good documentation, but just being really open about it, going out, giving talks, and hopefully if your project is good, it's gonna get some traction, but it may not happen.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, but I think the whole idea is to not to look to create an open source project for the sake of an open source project. It's you need to have your idea or something that you're really interested in that is really useful or solving one of your problems, and then eventually your problems is being shared by other people, and then they're going to contribute. But it all starts by creating something that is meaningful to you. Where you'll be willing to spend all that energy. It's going to be a lot of energy and time. And if you are like just halfway interested by the stuff, it's not going to work. So it's all about, you know, you need to find something that bothers you and that you want to solve. Let's start from that. And then the rest will come. Yeah, the question.
Yes. If they don't want to talk, I'll talk. About the on-call shift, how do you handle each person? It's on call 1 day, 1 week. How do you manage the time shift? And also the fancy question: how do you are handling the I see the, let's call the boost factor, like, because years before you were famous because you almost had no rotation of personnel, and now you're obviously you're bigger and you're having some of the old guard, let's say. How are you handling that?
So it's right now a daily shift for core infrastructure, but as so many other things you have, we found out that we need to, you know, divide and conquer. So we're creating small groups, and each group is responsible for their alerts. So I can speak for myself, being in core infrastructure, I would get the service host alerts, the denial service attacks. And we also have a first responder rotation, which means that for a week, you're supposed to be the one triaging the new issues that are created and are supposed to be a responsibility for your team. So I don't know if that answers 2 of your questions. What was it online? The bus factor. I think Alain named that. We try to make everything asynchronous and everything is written down. If it's not written down, it doesn't happen, basically. So we try to minimize every meeting that we can have. Even if we do have meetings, obviously, because sometimes it's just easier to jump into a Blue Jeans chat or whatever and have a conversation. But then someone is responsible for writing that down, creating an issue, and linking to it.
Just one thing, many things that we do are just shell scripts that you call through Google. So even if someone leaves, the actual work should have been done by a script most of the time.
More questions? No more questions?
Si alguien no se atreve con el inglés, español.
¿Preguntas?
¿Puedo hacer una...?
Por supuesto.
Sí, volviendo un poco a tu open source question. Sorry, I'm doing Spanish. English. One of the best things, you're studying at the moment. Yeah, I'm sure your university has some open source project, whether it's the engineering department or the IT department. That would be a great way to start. Otherwise, just find your interest. There must be something you're interested in, and I'm sure there's going to be an open source project. And just start with some small lines of code. You don't have to go like super crazy. Like I started with a development bootcamp. That's how I was doing my open source coding. Like even find us, do a development bootcamp and see if they need some mentors and you can contribute with them. Like start really small, and then like your GitHub profile will start to look green. You'll get followers, and it's just try and keep it really simple to begin with. And look local, and I'm really sure your university will have something.
Come on guys, venga chicos, una última pregunta, o 2. ¿Alguien se anima? Aunque es en castellano, lo traducimos si hace falta. One? I think that's all. Thanks a lot for coming with us, and I think we have to count those tweets, silver tweets, right? You got it? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Bueno, en segundo lugar, un poco de tambor, ¿no? In second place, it's Jorge Maroto. Maroto, sí. Yeah! Os estáis levantando dos personas. Jorge Maroto, @Jorge Maroto. O Patoroco. @Patoroco, perdona. Jorge Maroto, @Patoroco. No. Yeah. And in first place, which I find it's slightly cheeky, but well,
I didn't know anything at all.
but very well deserved,
I didn't know
with 8 retweets.
No,
Social media guru here.
No.
It's no José. Ahí, ¿dónde está José? Perdón. José Plana.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
it is good. Well, no, it's well earned. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you very much.
Vale, el que se ha levantado, Jorge, no, ven a hablarnos. Y te mandamos. No, te has ganado. El que no ha ganado. Jorge, que hablamos luego. Bueno, vale, hasta luego. You can say goodbye, but
Do you get a word what you said? What work? Excellent having you here. Thank you guys.